Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're taking an objective, deeply analytical look at the 75th anniversary Miss World Festival over in Vietnam, setting our timeline firmly at August 8th, 2026. Literally right before delegate arrivals, we're here to cut through the noise. We're going to unpack the confirmed facts, look at the stakeholder interests, and highlight the massive uncertainties surrounding this global event as it moves from the planning stage to actual physical execution. We are strictly separating established facts from organizer forecasts and digging into the raw data to see what is actually happening behind the scenes. Here's our agenda for today. First, the Nha Trang venue relocation. Second, the event structure and unconfirmed rules. Third, delegates and philanthropic purpose. Fourth, Vietnam's strategic tourism context. And finally, risks and outstanding unknowns. All right, kicking things off with Section 1, the Nha Trang venue relocation. Let's look at what is arguably the biggest logistical pivot of this entire pre-event phase, the location of the September 5th final show. The official record shows a really clear timeline of, well, changing plans. Back on March 29th, the Miss World organization publicly announced Ho Chi Minh City as the host. That was the plan, reiterated in official schedules right through mid-May. But then, things shifted. Records from late May show the local co-producer negotiating to move the final week to April 2 Square in Nha Trang. And then on June 22nd, it was made official. Organizers issued a definitive statement, overriding their earlier announcements and confirming the coastal city of Nha Trang as the official climax of the festival. Now, you might be wondering, why the big move? Well, the truth is, the strict public record provides absolutely zero verified internal motive for this decision. Sure, analysts can infer that Nha Trang aligns perfectly with the local province's coastal tourism initiatives, but we have to treat those strictly as analytical inferences. We have the documented what, the move to Nha Trang, but the documented why remains completely unestablished. Moving on to Section 2, event structure and unconfirmed rules. Separating the established facts from historical precedent is absolutely crucial if we want to understand what's actually going to happen on the ground. Let's start with a quick numbering clarification that frankly trips a lot of people up. The organization is officially branding this as the 75th anniversary to commemorate its founding back in 1951. But in terms of actual physical competitions held, this is the 73rd numerical edition. Keeping that distinction clear just helps us accurately contextualize the whole thing. When it comes to the actual competition, there's a massive gap between what we know and what we don't. We know for a confirmed fact that their philanthropic mandate, Beauty with a Purpose, is the ideological core of the 2026 event. What remains completely unconfirmed, though, are the broader global challenge events. Historically, we'd anticipate events like sports, talent, or top model. But right now, those are just anticipated based on history, not officially validated for 2026. Building on that, the precise elimination framework is also a major unknown. Take the previous edition, for example. They used a really complex top 40 system and a continental proportional selection format. But as of our August 8th cutoff, there is no verification that this same exact structure applies to 2026. Until an official rulebook drops, past mechanics are exactly that, in the past. Let's jump into Section 3, Delegates and Philanthropic Purpose. The real substantive weight of this competition relies heavily on the delegates themselves. Organizers have put out a highly publicized official claim, expecting more than 120 national representatives to participate in the month-long itinerary traversing Vietnam. Obviously, that's a massive logistical undertaking. But we need to look closely at that number. That 120-plus figure, that is an organizer expectation. As of August 8th, the finalized roster simply isn't complete, and the official portal only gives us a partial snapshot of verified profiles. The final count is only going to be proven once those delegates physically register in Hanoi. So we have to treat 120 as a target, not a verified fact. What's really compelling, though, is looking at the confirmed delegates and their Beauty with a Purpose projects. You can clearly see a shift toward concrete humanitarian advocacy. For example, India's Nikita Porwal is running Project Madi, focusing on maternal health and clean water for tribal communities. The host nation's representative, Lay Nguyen Bao Ngoc, is driving youth climate policy with Gen Zero. Over in Czechia, Linda Gorica is raising funds for oncology patients, and Eritrea's Snit Habtaib Tuwaldmedin is fighting for disability inclusion. This right here is the confirmed substantive core of the modern festival. And looking at the verified organizer rosters, we can confirm that some specific nations and territories are making their debut. The Maldives, Eritrea, and French Guiana are making their inaugural appearances at the 2026 festival. It's a pretty interesting expansion of their global footprint, right as they hit this anniversary milestone. Okay, Section 4, Vietnam Strategic Tourism Context. This event isn't happening in a vacuum. It intersects directly with Vietnam's active macroeconomic strategies. State tourism statistics indicate that Vietnam recorded nearly 13.9 million international arrivals in just the first 7 months of 2026. That is a substantial jump. And it feeds perfectly into the state's overarching objective, which is to reach a massive 25 million international arrivals by year end. Hosting a globally broadcast event that physically traverses multiple provinces, that presents a huge potential opportunity to showcase Vietnam's domestic infrastructure to international markets. But let's not jump to conclusions here. Analysts correctly point out that this broadcast might support these tourism goals, but proving that the event directly caused a spike in tourism revenue, that remains strictly theoretical. We simply cannot establish that actual measurable economic return on investment until the post-event third and fourth quarter data is published. Finally, Section 5, Risks and Outstanding Unknowns. A truly neutral analysis means we have to define the operational variables that could totally alter the plan. Here's a key metric. Organizers are currently forecasting a live in-person attendance of 20,000 spectators for that September 5th finale in Nha Trang. But just like the delegate count, this 20,000 attendance number has to be categorized strictly as an optimal scenario forecast. It relies on flawless ticket distribution and, crucially, viable weather conditions for an outdoor broadcast. It's a planned scenario, absolutely not a guaranteed outcome. And honestly, weather is perhaps the most significant operational variable here. Climatological records show that September is historically the transition into monsoon season along Vietnam's south-central coast. If a major storm hits, they might be forced indoors, which would heavily alter that 20,000 attendance forecast. Now, to be clear, as of August 8th, there's no exact meteorological forecast for September 5th. So right now, it is a historical risk, not a confirmed disruption. So, bringing it all together, we're left with a clear picture of unresolved uncertainties. Until physical execution actually begins, these data points are strictly unknowns. The final delegate arrival count, the specific 2026 advancement mechanics, the actual event day weather, the realized attendance, and the true economic ROI. Every single one of these is pending verification. Which leaves us with one final question to ponder. When the theoretical planning inevitably collides with physical execution, which of these grand forecasts will actually survive reality? As the delegates prepare to touch down, the time for expectations is ending and the time for hard data begins. Thanks for checking out this explainer, and definitely keep a close eye on the numbers as this festival unfolds.